Hello and welcome to today's episode of Start Being Visible. Now, today we are going to talk about a subject that I know is something that a lot of my listeners can relate to because a lot of the clients that I work with are in this position, and also I myself are in this position. Now, what am I talking about? I am talking about how to be visible on LinkedIn without losing your day job. Okay, that's a good thing, right? We want to be visible, but we don't want to lose our day job. So this topic, this issue, this episode is all about balancing visibility with a 9 to 5, because I know you might be listening to this and you're a side hustler, or maybe you're a consultant, or you do something outside of, basically you have a day job and you have a business, or you have some kind of something you're doing outside, and you're wondering, how am I going to balance both worlds? If that was the question that's ever crossed your mind, then this episode is just for you, because I am going to share how you're going to be able to do that. As I mentioned, this is the position that I've been in. So I do, as you know, if you listen to this podcast, I coach women and female leaders and business owners on how to build visible and profitable brands on LinkedIn that advance your career, advance your business. But I also, in addition to doing this, I have a day job where I work in communications. I started my career as a journalist, worked in the media, moved into comms over the last almost 2 decades or so. I've been in the area of communications, and PR, comms, all of that kind of stuff is my what do they call it? My bag. Those are my skill set, alongside a whole lot more else. But my day job is in comms. So as of the time of recording this right now, I am currently in a comms day job, in a contracting role. So, and I have been pretty much throughout my career, even back in the journalism days, as I have had a day job and I've had a business simultaneously pretty much throughout the 20 plus years of my career. And I've been able to make them work. In the early days, there wasn't this concept of LinkedIn as such, or personal branding. That came along later on in my career, but the two have been able to work hand in hand in different ways, different capacities. But you absolutely can build a personal brand outside of your job, and still be great and successful at your day job. You absolutely can do both. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about how to make that happen, how to make it possible. But first of all, before we get into the details of it, let's just talk about first how not to get into trouble with your employer while building your visibility on LinkedIn, because there are some things that we do need to consider straight off the bat, right? Because as what I'm going to share with you today is applicable to pretty much everybody listening to this, but you may be in a unique situation where for some reason it's difficult or practically impossible for you to be able to do external things because of your contract. So this is where we're going to talk about the legalities of it first before we get into the hows. And it's not all just the legalities, but this is basically how to cover your tracks at work before you can then fly with building your personal brand on LinkedIn and elsewhere. And the first thing that you need to consider is you need to know what your employment contract says. So before you dive into the world of posting on social media, posting on LinkedIn, showing up on there, you need to know what your contract says. You need to know what is your organization policy around having a business on the side, and around what you can and can't post on social media. So some organizations do have specific policies around moonlighting, or having side businesses, or publishing content on social media, or even things like speaking, outside of your day job. So check your contract. Start there first. Check your contract to see what it says, because some of them may require you to disclose your side business or ask for permission before you can do it, or sometimes they don't. They just say kind of like, you can't speak on our behalf. And so at the moment, the contract that I'm in, the comms contract I'm working with, they have quite a bit of a heavy-handed policies around social media, what you kind of can't say online because of the nature of the industry that they're in. So to avoid all of this, one, because I'm not a permanent employee anyway, I'm a contractor, even though I've been there for quite a while. But to avoid any such legal stuff, I don't have that company listed on my profile at the moment. So I have the fact that I am working in contract in a particular company, in a particular field, but I haven't listed and attached my name to the companies. Therefore, I am still operating as an independent entity outside of this organization. So really, that's like one way to kind of get past all the things in terms of the social media policies and what you can and can't say as a rep of the company, because I'm not a representative of the company, because I'm not linked to them in any way, shape or form online. So that's something that you can consider doing. You can consider doing. Now, in the past, I have had other jobs where my profile, my LinkedIn profile. So if you've been listening to the podcast, you know that I spent some time building my profile on LinkedIn and putting out content, all of that kind of stuff. I wasn't actually intending to build my profile. I was just showing up. I had things to say. I had things to share with the world, and I was putting it out there, and I started building an audience and a following, which grew to like over 50,000 people, etc. So I remember one of the jobs that I had, the one before, a couple of this before this, a contract that I had, I was actually headhunted for the role, and my LinkedIn profile was part of the selling point of them wanting me in that role, because they could see that I had built a brand that was attractive to the kind of audience that they were looking to attract in that role. So in that particular case, when I was in that role, not only was I very much active on my social media, I was actually also using it to meet some of the targets from my job, and it became a huge asset to that organization. And I want to let you know that this is what happens when you intentionally build your personal brand on platforms like LinkedIn and elsewhere. Your personal brand is a currency that you can trade for different things in your career and your business, and it's a valuable currency. So I don't want you to let go of this and exchange this for just, oh, I am just an employee, so therefore I'm just going to focus on my job and not build my personal brand until I need to, or until I start a business, or until I leave, or whatever else, you know. Or if you have that side hustle, you're so concerned. Some people are so overly concerned about what the employer will say or not say that they just don't show up at all. So how are you ever going to grow that business, you know, if you don't start being visible? Yeah, so, but on the other side, you can really build a powerful personal brand that you can then trade up for things within work. I've had previous organizations where I've worked, another separate organization that I worked in, where because of all the stuff that I was doing, my role there was comms in the organization. I was hired to manage comms. But because at the time, this is when I had my previous business, my CV Makeover Careers business, because I was doing so much of that outside of the job as well, and I was being visible about it as I could at the time. I was doing speaking engagements. I was posting on LinkedIn, Twitter at the time, before it, you know, went to hell as X. So actually, it was way, way, way before it turned to X. But anyway, so and because my employer, my CEO at the time, recognized that I had all these other additional skill set, because he could see what I was doing. He could see how it was helping people. That part of my business then became a part of my role. I created a new role for myself within that organization that tied in my business and my day job together, you know. So as I said, your personal brand, when you build it, and your business, and you're building it around your business, it can be an asset to an organization. Even if it's not, you can't take it within the organization like I did with this particular role. Some of the skills that you learn there, the platform that you create, you can use that for the benefit of your current employer. So I've written an article which was published in HR Zone. I think I've got a version of it on LinkedIn as well, about employee influencers, the rise of employee influencers. So go check that out on my LinkedIn profile. But it's important that you also realize that you have power as an employee when you actively and intentionally build your personal brand on a platform like LinkedIn. So I say that to say, though, do know what your employment contract says, but know that you can also work around it depending on what your contract says. So that's the first place to start. What does your employer say about what you can or can't say online, what you can or can't do with your business that you have on the side? Now, along that, secondly, it's kind of and to avoid getting into trouble, avoid conflicts of interest. So if your business is a direct competitor of the day job that you're doing, then that might not be a good idea that you're actively pushing and promoting this business online. So just be very, very careful about that. Again, your contract will be able to be clear about the terms, and you need to also make sure that you're not murky in the waters, murky, I don't know, whichever one it is, right? So to speak. But just be careful if you're in your business is in the same industry as your day job. Be careful that it won't look like you're stealing customers or clients from your employer, and make sure that you're not anyway. All right. Keep, again, how not to get into trouble. Keep business. We haven't got into the meat of how to really make this work, by the way. So this is just the bit. I don't want you to get into trouble first. So I want to deal with all the kind of things that I hear, some of the issues, that people have, some of the fears around building your personal brand and being visible on LinkedIn with your side hustle while you have your day job. So I want to get these out of the way first. Then we can focus on how you can really strategically kind of build your personal brand and build your visibility in a way that serves your business and serves you in the long run. Okay, so number 3, keep work and business separate. So keep the work and business separate. So what you want to make sure is that you're not using your employer's your day job time to do your business work. So if there's nuances to this, I'll say that, as I said, in some of my roles where the two I've been able to blend the two. It was a seamless transition for me. I'm the kind of person, and this is just me. I'm not asking you to do this, but this is just me, because I don't need micromanaging. I am very good at, kind of getting results. I'm very good at give me a vision. Yeah, give me a vision and give me a blank slate and give me some deadlines, and you will get some excellent results. Just don't tell me how I am to do it. Don't be specific in terms of prescriptive with it, because then that just doesn't work. But I am excellent, and this is part of what I bring to roles that I do. I'm excellent at kind of bringing to life vision and, finding different ways to do it. And I've done this strategically in different roles. But for me, I can mix the two. So I have no problem waking up on a Saturday morning and planning out a whole event for my day job, which I have done in many times. I like planning out, because if the idea hits me at Saturday at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, I'm not going to say, oh no, let me stop and wait for Monday when I'm paid, in order to kind of write down that idea or take it further. I will work on it there and there, because my mind just works like this. And also because I believe in work-life integration, where it's like if you're working in areas that you don't have to always love it, but you should try. Because if you hate your job, please quit. Except if you badly need it for the finances, in which case, get the finances, but be looking for something that's more fulfilling, because you cannot be going to a job every single day that you hate. That is not good for your mental health. It's not good for the organization. It's not good for you. It's not good for anybody. Get out, right? But just make sure you're financially secure, but get out. Okay? But I say that to say that the integration thing is that sometimes it's like when you're passionate about what you do, it can flow into part of your life, and then your life can flow into your work. I think when employers are too rigid about, this is a 9 to 5, you work 9 to 5, you clock in, you clock out. It doesn't reflect real life, because real life doesn't wait. Life doesn't wait till after the 9 to 5 or before the 9 to 5. It doesn't wait, So I have learned over the years. I said I've kind of worked, but had one foot in both realms throughout my entire career. So I've learned how to merge them, and so that both sides, excel in both areas, and it's always been an asset everywhere that I've worked. But unless you've mastered that, you need to put in some boundaries in place to make sure that you're keeping your work and your business separate. So some of those things are including things like, so if you're going to show up on LinkedIn, for example, and you know you have a 9 to 5 and you start at 9, you finish at 5, then put out your posts before 9 o'clock. Do your posting, do your engagement, do all of that before 9 o'clock, before you start work. Then maybe at lunchtime in your break, you can go and check in with people and, reply to some comments, etc. And then after work, you can do the same thing. So it's like you can work your business around your day job in that sense. So make sure that you do that kind of stuff. Do not use your work laptop for your business. These are obvious things, but I'm just saying it just to be clear. Don't use your work laptop, your work computer, or anything that the work paid for to do your business. Use your own resources, because that's what you put on your work laptop, etc. It belongs to your employer. It is not yours. So don't mix the two in that way. And because this also protects you legally in case anything was ever to happen anyway. So there's no trace of you using your work stuff for your personal business as well. So make sure that you protect yourself legally, as well as putting in the practical boundaries in place to make sure that you're keeping work and life separate. Right. A few more things about how not to get into trouble before we get into how to actually go about really building being visible on LinkedIn as somebody who has a day job. Number 4 kind of thing, watch what you share. So do not just even if you've had the worst day at work, LinkedIn is not the place to go and vent about it. It is not. Go tell your real life friends, go tell your real life family. And if you don't have any, please log off right now and go and make some, because the internet, as great as it is, cannot replace real relationships with real people in your life. Even if you meet them online, then please find a way to take it offline, because we need real relationships in our lives. Okay, so but do not vent. Don't vent out loud on LinkedIn or somewhere else about your job, about your boss, about your colleague, about whatever, because guess what? It's obvious. It's going to be obvious who and what you're talking about, and that can lead to repercussions at work that you do not want. So don't use your platform, your LinkedIn platform or profile for venting or your content about your day job. And also, that's not good for your brand anyway. You need to keep on brand with the content, but we'll talk about that when we get to the content bit. Okay? Now, so in terms of what you are sharing, again, we'll talk about it in the content bit, but you want to make sure that this is focused and this is strategic, and it's not any trade secrets from work, or for example, or anything like that. Nothing that's confidential about your workplace should make it to a public platform like LinkedIn, because you will get in trouble for that, so don't do it. Okay. And then, so visibility settings, a couple more things. Visibility settings. I'm kind of 50-50 about this. Some people, actually no, more than 50-50. So some people go in stealth mode in terms of, so when they go to view profiles, you can change your settings on LinkedIn so that you view people's profiles anonymously and all of that. People can not see your profile unless they're connected with you, I feel like those things kind of defeats the point of being on a public platform like LinkedIn if you're going to be your stealth mode. So don't do it. I don't recommend that you do it. If you feel like you have no other choice but to go into stealth mode in terms of blocking certain people from seeing your activity, that kind of stuff, and seeing them from viewing your profile, blocking people from your work, for example, if you feel like you have no other choice but to do that, then that would be the only time I would say you do that. But it literally has to be you've got no other choice. Other than that, I believe it's fully healthy, and you definitely should open up your LinkedIn to your current colleagues in your job so that they can see what you're up to, and also it helps to position you in a better way. Your visibility on LinkedIn actually has positive repercussions most of the time in your workplace, because for a lot of clients I've worked with, for example, it's helped to elevate their thought leadership. It's helped to elevate them within their workplace, because now they have their directors and managers saying, oh, I didn't know you knew this about that, which they read on their LinkedIn post, but they would never have had that opportunity to know that they knew this about that just in general day to day in their 9 to 5, because those kind of things don't come up. So I don't believe in hiding your LinkedIn and your posts from your colleagues and your managers, etc. Because you're missing out on the potential to benefit from your visibility as well. Okay, two more things. So when it does come to posting, use neutral language. You don't have to shout with every post. I have a business, so this is number 6. You don't have to say I have a business or in my business. You can be a bit more kind of make the tone down the language so it's not like pretty obvious all the time that you're shouting about your business. Although if you go to my profile right now, as of the time this is being recorded, and I do change it every so often when I'm in a different season. So if you listen to this podcast outside of when it was first made live, you might see a completely different profile. But right now, if you go on my profile, it is very much targeted to my business, and not the day job. It's all about visible women, helping female leaders, all that kind of stuff. So I am shouting about the business because, as I said, for this current contract that I'm in, I am not associating myself with the organization. So I'm just still marketing myself as a business person on LinkedIn, not as an employee, because my day job has nothing to do with my business. So I'm keeping the two separate. But especially if yours has some synergy, you don't have to in every post say in my business. You can say talk about things like in more general terms, like in my consulting work, or I have consulted with client and here's the advice I gave, or a recent project that I worked on, or when I work with clients, or okay, that kind of stuff. How to say I have a business without saying I have a business. So find more subtle ways to talk about your business so it's not too in your face if it's going to be something that might potentially not be favorable to your employers. Okay, and you also don't want them thinking that you're so invested in your business that you're not invested in the day job. That's one thing you have to make sure doesn't come across, in your posts and how often and how you show up on LinkedIn. Okay, and lastly, in terms of not getting in trouble, you need to decide if and when you're going to tell your boss that you have this side business and that you're going to be visible. I had a conversation with a client who said to me, the client's in the same field as her. So the field she's working in her day job is the same as her business. But her employers knew this before they employed, because she works part-time for the organization. They knew this before they employed her, so they didn't have a problem with it, but they started to get a little bit nervous when they saw her posting a bit more on LinkedIn, in terms of, hold on a minute, are you still kind of fully in with us? And she's had to reassure them, yes, I am, but posting on LinkedIn is part of my visibility and building this business that about, that I've told you about. So, there's no problem. And I don't do it within work times. I do it on my day off, and I do it outside of the working hours, etc. So there's no problem. So sometimes it is, in fact, most times, you probably should be upfront with your manager or your employer and say, this is what I do, this is what I do outside. It has no bearing in a negative way to my day job. In fact, you can absolutely spin this, because it is true. There are so many positive skills you get from running your own business that are transferable into your day job. So it's something when I hear people say that they're hiding, I'm like, why are you hiding this thing? This is what makes you stand out, and you're hiding it like it's something to be ashamed of. And the skills that you're getting from there are absolutely transferable. The skill, the character, the grit. It takes a lot to run a business, It really does take a lot. Those are the kind of attributes that a right thinking employer would value. So don't be hiding that stuff, But anyway, it's up to you to decide whether or not you tell your boss and when. And again, as I said, look at your contract and see what it says. If they say that you must declare, then you must. You have no choice. But if there's no prerequisition for you to declare, then it's up to you to decide. But I would go on the side of telling, so that it's all open, it's all above board. I believe in doing things openly, above board, kind of tell the truth in the light, that kind of stuff. Okay, and also if you have a supportive manager, it can work in your favor and build trust and all of that. So let's talk about the mindset, the right mindset and boundaries that you need to have in order to continue to be visible on LinkedIn, or start being visible on LinkedIn, and not lose your 9 to 5 in the process, right? Not lose your day job. So first of all, I want you to I want you to, I always say to people, LinkedIn is not a social media platform. So don't be thinking that when you're on LinkedIn that you're posting on social media. So which then makes it feel like some kind of guilty secret. Oh gosh, I'm on social media. Oh, I'm on and checking Instagram during work. I'm on Facebook and on TikTok or whatever, right? LinkedIn is not a social media platform in the same way as all these others. LinkedIn is a professional platform. So I want you to reframe it that the activities, the time that you invest in LinkedIn is actually activity, is time that is productive for the marketing of you and your business, so it is something you are building and sowing into your future self. You're sowing into your current business and you're sowing into your future self because you're building a personal brand, as I said, that's going to create that currency that you're going to be able to trade up from the future. And that personal brand currency, it grows and it grows the more you invest into it. And it is transferable across your jobs. Your job can come and go. Your job title can change, but your personal brand, that is yours to keep. It's not, it doesn't belong to your employer, it belongs to you. So I want you to really, really have this clear focus that when you're on LinkedIn, you're doing this, you're sowing into your future self as you build your personal brand through being visible on LinkedIn. So, and then it's like, don't worry about, because you might have the fear of, what if my boss sees this? So don't worry about what your boss, as we already talked about, have that conversation as much as possible. But also, the content that you put out has to be content that you're not afraid of your boss sees it. Yeah, what if your boss sees this? So what? This is why you shouldn't use it for venting and things like that, right? What if your boss sees it? Actually, it's a good thing if your boss sees it because you're talking about thought leadership stuff. You're talking about you're sharing insights and expertise and things that are really helpful and valuable to people. That's the kind of stuff you want your boss to see. You want your boss to see you in this new light, in this different light, not just as a person who's got their head down at work all day long doing whatever else that you've been asked to do. But this is a different side of you. You're elevating yourself in front of your boss, your manager, and that is a good thing. Okay, so you need to clarify your goals in terms of mindset going into it. Know that, especially when you're using LinkedIn and you're using it to build your business, first of all, you have to make sure that the content that you're putting out, if you're going to build an audience, it has to be useful. It has to be valuable to the people that you potentially want to do business with. So you don't just want to put things out there, and you don't want to be selling all the time as well, because that's incredibly off-putting to people. You want to share helpful content that actually improves people's lives, that actually entertains people, educates them, gives them aha moments, whatever it is. It has to add something valuable to the life of the person reading, or if it's a video you put out watching, in order for it to be counted as valuable content. So that's what you need to do. So clarify your goal. Know that when you do post valuable content, you're looking for it to reach the right people. And that sometimes might mean that you may not get a huge crowd, especially as you get going and you're building your audience. You may not get, hundreds and hundreds of people liking your post, but we're not chasing virality here, because it's not about how viral can you go. It's about how much can you serve people and benefit them and show them through your content that you have what they need. You provide a service that's relevant and helpful to them. How much can you do that through your posts? All right. So, and then once you've got the right mindset in place, you want to position yourself strategically. Now, in my book, I talk about this. The whole PACE formula is around. So my book, Start Being Visible, which is the absolute best LinkedIn playbook for you if you want to learn how to build your personal brand on LinkedIn, especially as a woman, a female leader, a woman in business. I wrote this book just for you. It covers absolutely everything you need to know about building your brand, including getting past the obstacles that get in the way of us showing up and being visible on LinkedIn. So go get your copy. You can find everything you need at my website, startbeinvisible.com. On there you can find a link to either get a signed copy, or you can get a digital copy, or you can pick one up from Amazon, whatever works for you. But make sure you go and get a copy of that book, because you're gonna need it on this journey. Okay, so, and in the book I talk about how to position yourself. So I talk about the PACE formula, which I also covered in one of the previous episodes in this season 3, so please do go check it out. But if I remember, I will get it linked to in the show notes. Okay. So you need to look at how to position yourself strategically when you're doing this. So this is about how you write your profile and also the kind of content that you share. So you need to make sure that your niche and your expertise of your business are clearly defined. That your LinkedIn presence is in alignment with your business, with your side hustle, and not with your 9 to 5. Do not be positioning yourself on LinkedIn as an employer with your job title and all of that. That does not serve you for the purpose of building your visibility for building your business. So don't do that. Align your LinkedIn presence with your business, not your 9 to 5. So, which means that when you're updating your profile and what you write in your profile, what you say in your profile, it needs to be in alignment with how you want to be portrayed as a business person and the people that you want to serve, not how you want to be seen in your day job. Unless your girl for using LinkedIn is looking for a new job, in which case, this is not the podcast recording for you. you know. But okay, so positioning yourself is a first thing to think about. So this is though that PACE formula thing. And then we want to think about, so PACE stands for profile, audience, content, and engagement. You want to think about who's your audience, how you can reach them on LinkedIn. You want to think about the kind of content that you put out on LinkedIn. So the content, as somebody who has this side business, so the content should really serve and speak to that business and the audience that you serve in that business. So if it fits naturally to also include content from your day job, remember, without sharing any secrets, breaking any confidentiality stuff, venting, anything like that, but stuff that is transferable from your day job that actually you can use as a story and illustration, as an example that will support your agenda for your business, then by all means use that kind of content as well, to share with your audience. And remember, it has to be valuable content, as in it adds value to your audience in some way, shape, or form. All right, so this could be, you can share wins, insights, lessons from your business, from your career, if it's relevant. These are the kind of things. Share how-tos and share your expertise. Help your audience with stuff. They'll love you for that. And don't feel like you have to create content every single day. Again, as somebody with a 9 to 5, I post every day. I have posted every single day on LinkedIn for a while. I took a break for about a year, but that's nothing to do with getting burnt out or anything like that. That was I was going in a different direction. But now I'm back. I've been back this year, and I've been back to posting every single day. So do you have to post every single day? No, especially as somebody who has a day job as well. However, if you want to be visible, if you actually want to build this business, you need to commit to posting at least 3 times a week. At least, this is the minimum I tell my clients, aim for 3 times a week. If you can do every day, and trust me, you can. You have more than enough content to do every day. Valuable content, has to be valuable. But if that is intimidating to you, post 3 times a week. You can start with once a week if you're just wetting your feet, but don't let it go more than a month of once a week before you up it to 3 times a week for that visibility purposes. So your audience can get to know you, like you, and trust you, which is the whole process of social selling. All right. So, and then lastly in the PACE formula, so PACE stands for profile, audience, content. The last leg is engagement. So you need to create time as well to engage, in between your 9 to 5. As I said at the beginning, if you're posting outside of work hours, so I post really early. That's because it works for me. Is before my house wakes up and I have to do all the mum stuff when get my kids ready for school. Not have to, I love to. I love to, it's my pleasure. I love being a mum. So, but I got loads of things to balance: the job, the business, the mum, the wife, the house, all of the rest of it. So I post early. Generally around 5:30 in the morning type of time, because I'm up, I've read my Bible, I've had my God time, all that kind of stuff. So that's how early I post. During holidays I post later because we don't have to get up so early, because the kids don't have to get up so early. But generally I post that early, and that's also the time that I create. At least I used to give it half an hour, but I just don't have half an hour anymore in the morning. So about 15-20 minutes I give it to kind of post, engage with a few people, comment on a few other people's posts before I have to sign off and get ready with all the other stuff that I need to do in the morning. So commit to at least that. Create, again, I can do less than that, though it's not ideal because I've had, years of experience doing this kind of thing, and my goals is a little bit different now. My goals are a little bit different. So if you're new at this visibility game, I would recommend that you budget half an hour, at least half an hour, to make that time in the morning, first thing in the morning, whatever time works for you, between, I don't know, 6 and 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. even. Probably 9 a.m. because you're going to work, right? You're working a 9 to 5. So find a time that works and budget half an hour to put your content out. Find a few posts that you can like and comment on, which this is the engagement part, which is absolutely crucial to building your brand and your visibility on LinkedIn. So make sure you do that in the morning. So these are the ways you don't burn out and you don't conflict it with work. Do that kind of stuff. Do the posting, do the engagement in the morning. Go about your business, do your work during the day. At lunchtime, when you're having a little bit of a break, jump back into LinkedIn for maybe give it 10 minutes or so. Maybe some more comments. Maybe reply to comments on your posts if you've had any, and then jump back out. Go back to work, and then after work, find some time in the evening. Again, you need about 10 minutes or so for that. Jump in, more comments, and you're done for the day. On the days that you don't post, also engage, right? So you engage every day, post 3 times a week at a minimum, all right? But if you keep up with this kind of routine, that will help you manage your LinkedIn visibility and your presence. One thing to post as I wrap this up, another time management to do. Don't try and post on the spot. Don't try and create content on the spot. I generally pull all my content at the weekend, so I'm constantly writing down ideas. Things come into my head, and I recommend that you do the same as well. When things come into your head that you're like, oh, could that be a post? Don't question it for half an hour. Just write it down. You can explore it later. And then I go in on a Saturday or Sunday, some point in the weekend, and I go through all the things that I put down that week, and also the set things that I want to put out that week. Like, for example, in the seasons when I do my podcast, putting out my podcast, a clip and a written text, that goes into my schedule for twice a week. So one is a clip, one is a written text. So I already have that planned, and then I fill the gaps with the other 3 days of other things I want to say. So I have my day that I plan. It takes me maybe half an hour, It might take you longer, again, if you're new to the process. So just budget that 1 hour, 2 hours at the weekend where you plan your LinkedIn content, write them up and get them scheduled to go for the week ahead. So you're not having that stress of, oh, what am I going to write about? Oh, I have writer's block. Oh, I'm not going to put anything out today. That kind of thing. You need the consistency to build your brand, to build your audience, and to build that visibility that's going to help your business move forward even while you're in the day job. Okay, so I wanna end with that. And I want to encourage you. If you've heard this, I hope this has been useful to you. I want to encourage you and let you know that it's absolutely possible to be visible on LinkedIn without losing your day job. As I said, I've done this. I've built my brand, and I've worked in organizations and done great work for many organizations while still building my brand pretty much throughout my career. So it will not be a hindrance to you if you don't allow it to be a hindrance. If you plan strategically and you make it happen, you will be absolutely fine. So you can do this, and not just can you do it, I strongly recommend that you do this, that you build your personal brand, remembering that this is a currency that grows as you invest in it. And this is a currency that will pay you back in future. Outside of when this job you're currently in is long gone, your personal brand will remain, because that is tied to you, to who you are. So that is it for today's episode. If you need help building that personal brand on LinkedIn, if you need help with a profile, I worked with a client recently to help her to create a profile that will speak to her audience while still in her day job, but create a profile that's aligned to her business. We did that, and we did a content strategy and did all of that and she's flying on LinkedIn. So if you need that kind of support, get in touch. If you need coaching support to get through the visibility, and we have a plan, I have longer term program, whatever it is, reach out, let's talk. let's see how I can help you, because my passion is to help women like you to build visible brands on LinkedIn that will help your business to prosper if you have one. If you don't have one, that will help you to prosper in your career and maybe for that future business. Okay, so get in touch with me. You can find details on how to work with me at startbeingvisible.com/work with Mildred. That's startbeingvisible.com/work with Mildred. And for everything else, go to my website, startbeingvisible.com. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. If it has been helpful, please do reach out. Send me a note, send me a message, say hi on LinkedIn. Let me know what your biggest takeaway is, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.